Heritage railways offer a decent bit of escapism in this otherwise crazy, or as I would prefer to say, hellish world, and they provide vintage locomotives, be they steam, diesel or electric, with an opportunity to haul trains again after being restored. The United Kingdom has a healthy number of heritage lines, and today we'll be looking at one such line as it appears in Train Simulator. This is my 2 cents on the Keighley Worth Valley Railway add-on. The KWVR add-on is older than I thought, having been released in November 2018, and you can still buy it on the Steam Sounds Supreme website at the time of uploading. The route was made by SSS themselves, with help from Vulcan Productions, Skyhook Games, Mark Brinton, and Blastpipe Productions. According to the listing on the SSS website, this add-on was officially endorsed by the real Keighley Worth Valley Railway Limited, so at least it's got that going for it, but this is still one of the most expensive TS Classic routes I've ever seen. The KWVR runs from Keighley to Oxenhope, and despite only being 5 miles long, the route costs £21.45, or $45.12 NZD, at full price. I certainly didn't pay that much, since I got the KWVR in a sale around a year or two ago, but I don't remember exactly how much I paid for the route. Even with a maximum permitted speed of only 25 miles per hour, a run along the full KWVR is still relatively quick, taking only 17 or 20 minutes to complete if you go the whole way without stopping. Indeed, there have been a few times where I got to Oxenhope only to think, is that really it? 2 complete locomotive models are included with the route, namely Southern Railway Bullied Light Pacific No. 34092 Wells, and BR Standard 4MT Class 460 No. 75078. Both are former digital traction models, and the original 4MT 460 add-on was discontinued a long time ago, so the KWVR pack is the only way to get this engine for people who don't have the original DT add-on. You don't get all 80 members of the standard 4MT 460 class, only No. 75078 as she looked in 2018. Curiously, while DT no longer sells the original 4MT 460 pack, you can still get the 264 tank engine version of the standard 4 on their website. This is despite the fact that the add-on is now rather old. When you're driving 75078, it's better to use the F5 heads-up display, or HUD for short, to get an accurate reading for the boiler's water level. For some reason, the reading is completely erratic on the F4 HUD, aka Fisher-Price toolbar. As for what I think of this locomotive overall, she's nothing special, to be honest. This is just an old model that's been spruced up somewhat, but there is at least one thing I like about 75078, the chuff sounds. As for the unrebuilt Bullied Pacifics, the other versions of the X-Digital Traction model are available on the SSS website, in separate Preservation and Working Days packs. Even with both packs installed, you still don't get all 110 members of the class. But if you do want every member of the West Country/Battle of Britain class, then Precision Locomotive Developments, formerly Bossman Games, has you covered. But those packs are pretty expensive, just like several TS Classic add-ons these days. It doesn't help that both their Merchant Navy and Light Pacific packs are split into 2 volumes each. Go figure. There are other engines, coaches and wagons included with the KWVR route, but rather than being complete locomotive models with no other dependencies required, these are just reskins for existing models, and if you want to run said reskins, you'll need to buy another 12 add-ons in order to get them to work. The reskin depicting 45596 Bahamas is built on the original Jubilee model that Dovetail made when they were still called railsimulator.com, and you can't get that pack on Steam anymore. Indeed, I never managed to get it myself. One of the reskins is for Digital Traction's model of the BR Standard Class 2MT 260 tender engine, and you can buy the Standard 2 on Steam. The reskin depicts the preserved locomotive number 78022 in a clean BR black livery, although the real thing is now in the slightly less boring BR lined green. When you're running along the line with this thing, you can pretend that you're Gary Brannan cooking bacon on a shovel in the firebox. Rather than testing my own patience by reading out the list of all the add-ons required for those KWVR reskins to work, I'll refer you to the list quoted on the SSS store page. The total cost for the whole lot is $213.62 NZD, or £101.54 if you were to buy all of the add-ons at full price. And as if the total cost of all the add-ons I've just mentioned wasn't bad enough, the KWVR route is not like the payware routes that get released on Steam. I say that because those routes are self-contained, in the sense that they don't require assets from other routes in order to work. But that's not the case with the KWVR, as that thing requires two more payware routes, namely the 1950s era Woodhead line and Riviera line in the 50s. Together, those two routes cost $40 New Zealand dollars at full price. So once we factor in the cost of the base KWVR route, plus all the reskin requirements and the two additional routes I just mentioned, the total cost of getting the semi-complete KWVR scene is an eye-watering $298.72 NZD, or £141.94. All that's for a route that's only 5 miles long. I'll let that sink in while I look through my archives for a random piece of stock footage to use as a transition scene. I guess the silver lining is that the reskins are not absolutely essential, and you can still run whatever other standard gauge British steam and diesel locomotives you've got in your collection on the KWVR, even if the locomotive you choose has never actually run on this line in real life, let alone survived into preservation. There are still other locomotives based on the KWVR in real life that you can also get in Train Simulator, but these ones were released after the KWVR itself. These engines include, but are not limited to, LNWR Coal Tank number 1054, a Class 37 diesel locomotive, and the sole surviving War Department Austerity 280. This particular Class 37, number 37075, is notable for having flush marker lights at one end, like a refurbished 37/5 or 37/7, but the original split head code boxes, plated over with marker lights, at the other end. As for the WD-280, she was originally built in 1945 as number WD-79257, but has been restored in British Railways black with the number 90733, despite never having worked for BR in her service life. Considering that 935 examples of this class were built, I'm quite surprised that only one has survived into preservation. $37,075 is included in Volume 2 of Armstrong Powerhouse's Class 37 pack, while 90733 comes with Victory Works' WD280 pack. At full price, those two packs cost $63.08 and $30.50 NZD respectively. Despite their high prices, the Class 37 and WD280 are still decent quality locomotives. As for the LNWR Webb coal tank, she was brought to TS Classic by Caledonia Works, and is available from their website, but she doesn't appear in this video because I haven't got her yet. Some of the reskins included with the base KWVR route allow you to recreate one of the iconic trains from the 1970 film adaptation of The Railway Children, a novel written by Edith Nesbit. I remember reading the original book when I was a kid, but surprisingly, I've never seen the film. The concept was made up of Great Western Railway 5700 class pannier tank number 5775, hauling a bogie coach and a four-wheeler painted in a crimson and cream livery, as well as an old North Eastern Railway director's saloon posing as the old gentleman's coach. 5775 was painted in the livery of the fictional Great Northern and Southern Railway, but because the KWVR route was released before Victory Works' pannier tank pack, the GN and SR reskin in TS Classic is built on the model from the Riviera line in the 50s route, which was just a lightly overhauled version of the now ancient Falmouth branch model. That thing didn't even have valve gear or axles modelled inside the frames. Go figure that one out. Of course, this wasn't the only time the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway featured in a film or television programme. Even a music video was partially filmed at Oakworth Station, and the song in said video was Breaking Us in Two by Joe Jackson. An episode of the classic British sitcom Last of the Summer Wine, called Full Steam Behind, was mostly filmed on the KWVR, including a scene at the De Mems crossing loop, where the three main characters, Foggy, Compo and Norman Clegg, caught up to the engine after Compo accidentally opened the regulator and sent her off as a runaway, but Compo barely even tried to climb back onto the footplate, and I will not spoil the episode any further. Full Steam Behind prominently featured the same 5700 class locomotive and ex-NER director's saloon that appeared in The Railway Children. The requirements for the Railway Children coaches are the WSR Wagon Pack by Phil Baines and two packs by Matrix Trains, namely the GNR and NER non-corridor coaches in LNER condition, and the SECR birdcage coaches in their original SECR livery. The WSR Wagon Pack is available on the SSS website, while the Matrix Trains ones are available on Steam. In the scenario editor, you'll need to click the Object Set filter, this little blue box on the right with an orange notch in it. Then, in the pop-out box on the right, you'll need to scroll down to the folder labelled as EOR, that's EYORE, all lowercase, and click the middle box next to WSR, followed by going to the Matrix Trains folder and ticking the boxes for the SECR birdcage and GNR/NER non-corridor stock. The Great Northern and Southern Railway reskins can now be selected in the rolling stock list on the left, then placed on the track. I'm only doing this demonstration for the Railway Children concept because, quite frankly, I don't have the time or patience to do the same thing for all the other KWVR stock in the game. The main highlight of this route, at least in my opinion, is the large amount of custom assets, although these are mostly just at the stations and accompanying yards. Scenery further away from the track is noticeably more basic by comparison. Besides the actual buildings, the stations are also detailed with realistic signs and advertising posters, although some of the posters are fairly low resolution, which makes it harder to read what's actually on them. Meanwhile, other posters are fully legible, such as this one about line-side photographers that I first noticed at Haworth Station. At Keighley, the Heritage Railway connects with the electrified suburban line from Leeds to Skipton, which is also used by Class 158 DMUs on the Leeds to Carlisle service. The Heritage Station is very well detailed like the rest of the line, complete with lots of BR-era signage and all. But look at this rendition of the mainline station next door. In the words of Leo Kim Video, sometimes it's best to say absolutely nothing. This doesn't really have much to do with the quality of the add-on, but I couldn't help noticing the absolutely tiny platform at De Mems, although please correct me if I'm mispronouncing that name. If anyone knows why the platform is so short, please let us know in the comments. Come to think of it, this platform is so short that it could give Burney Arms, over in Norfolk, a run for its money. At the end of the day, I think the situation with the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway in TS Classic is just, for want of a better word, strange. As far as I'm concerned, the route itself is of a reasonably high quality, complete with all the custom assets and the multiple locations I recognise from that one episode of Last of the Summer Wine, but I think it is simply not worth the full price of £21.45. As a reminder, this route is only 5 miles long, and in all honesty, I can't recommend the KWVR route unless A. you're a massive fan of the real line, and B. you can get it at a steep discount. At the end of the day, and despite the high price, I still enjoy pottering about on the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway from time to time.